Hello, good evening, and welcome to Chatbox with Sam. Tonight's guest is actress, acting coach, and casting director Laura Gardner. Good evening, Laura. How are you?
I'm good, Samantha. How are you doing?
I'm awesome. Thank you very much. I interviewed your husband the other day, Frank Collison. I know you've been married since 2005, October. So you'll have an anniversary coming up. But I'm very pleased that you decided to come on the show. I think it's awesome that you're also an acting coach, because there's always the younger generation and that need that. If you were to inspire the younger generation, what would be your main focus in the industry?
I think these days it's really about what matters to them and what matters to them about the world and what do they want to do about impacting people, being kind to people, telling the truth, about telling stories, sharing stories, about being committed to something and making a difference, that not about being influencers, but about having an opportunity to make a difference and not to be about being cool, being slick, being fast. And the world that we were just watching the news, and it just makes me sad. It makes me very sad what I'm about what's occurring in the world. So to me, what's important in the world is to make a difference now, to really have a positive impact in storytelling.
Absolutely, and I believe in showing how we're familiar yet uniquely different, and trying to focus on the positive and encourage kindness rather than criticism. I think it makes a huge difference. So, yeah, I can see you're an empathic person just by your words. So thank you very much for sharing that. What inspired you into this particular career, the path you've taken?
I think I was pretty screwed up as a kid.
Oh,
And but I loved music so much and storytelling, and so I found a lot of magic, and I sang and I played piano by ear, and I found
oh wow.
peace and imagination. I grew up in New York City, so I found a lot of people down the hall that I could talk to and find out who they were. And when I went away to summer camp, it was a place that I could start to act in summer camp, or I could sing at the Jewish Center, and in school, in elementary school, I was able to be in chorus, or I was able to audition. And I was a twin, so
Really?
I'm a twin. It wasn't that I was a twin, I am a twin. And so I was always much bigger and taller than my twin. And so there was something about being in the wrong body, in the wrong shape. And she was little and she was very sick most of the
Oh,
time. She had asthma. And so I think there was just something about having to take care of myself a little bit more. And I just started to uh, entertain myself and other people,
right.
perhaps. I found a lot of comfort in reading and telling stories,
Oh,
and
wow.
and did it a lot. And there was a time I considered whether I could do concert pianist, or I learned how to play guitar. And so I just always wanted to do something that was in the arts. And my mother was a speech teacher. My mother wanted me to be a speech teacher. She was a gym teacher and she was always hurting her throat. She wanted me to become a speech teacher so I could help her with her throat. So for a
Oh,
while, I started to pretend that I wasn't going to be an actress, that I was going to be a speech teacher. But what I always wanted to do was to be an actor. That was just,
oh.
that's what I wanted to be. I was going to be an actor. And I say that I decided to be an acting teacher at the same time because I thought I knew how to do it so well that I was going to tell everybody how to do it.
I love it. You've been in quite a few things. You were known for the Romanoffs and Outcast and Truth Never Lies. And so you've done TV series and film. Is there a preference for you for the TV or film? What you prefer the most?
There's a real difference between I've done probably more stage and then TV and some film, and there's such a different experience to all of them. I mean, what's wonderful about stage is that there's such a magic about what occurs between audience and actor and the immediacy of it. There's just no question about, that was my first love, and so to be live and anything can happen, and certainly anything does, and happen in the moment with to hear the things drop in the audience, to hear the feel the energy of the audience, and but with TV, there's and film, there's the simplicity of being able to just really speak gently to know that the person is just. I mean, right now, because I don't really want to see myself into cameras here, I'm going to talk directly into the camera. There's such, and certainly in my coaching, because I've done a lot of coaching on Zoom, there's something so wonderful about knowing that the difference between talking to you on camera, right here on Zoom, and talking to you right into camera, there's such an intimacy about knowing you right there. Right. So the one thing that, I learned how to lie very early because I lied about a lot of things. And the thing about acting is that as a coach, I know when someone's lying because they're too big. And so the best acting is when an actor learns how to tell the truth in a way that is really bringing themselves to imaginary circumstances. And the audience doesn't know that where is the actor and where is the character. Right. And so, a director of mine many years ago who's passed used to say that there was an extraordinary experience, and it happened in a class of mine last night with one of my students. He had a wonderful breakthrough. He was working on a scene from Boys in the Band, and it was very personal for him. And this director used to say that when the actor, the writer, the director, and God come together, those are those moments when there's no experience like that, because the audience in a movie theater or at home watching leans forward because they know they're in the presence of the truth.
Right.
And going back into, all the horrible things that are happening in the world.
Right.
There is a necessity for in art. There is a necessity to see horrible things in art because we need to know what to do in these circumstances. There are lessons to be learned in tragedy and in horror films, as much as I may hate them. I mean, I used to not want to play characters who were evil. And there is a necessity to learn from these things. I just think that there is something right now about how wonderful it is to be able to bring, and this will be my theme probably from what we're sharing today, how wonderful to be able to bring something that is of hope to the world. I, unfortunately, at times am extremely affected by things around me. So very difficult for me to detach sometimes from energies that are around me, whether it be my dog, my husband, my students, whether it's somebody who's walking beside me. And so it's not, I'm not very good at compartmentalizing. And that is, I had a conversation today with a wonderful actress who we were talking about, it would be great if I could separate completely if something is upsetting me during the day, separate from my work with the upset. I'm not always really great at that. And because when, for me, I'm opening, for anybody who's watching, this is from a dog, a leash, and a squirrel. I will survive. It's a broken finger, so don't worry about me. I will survive. So That's what it is. And if I could put eyes on it and be a little puppet, it comes off on Tuesday.
We know
But
you and the dog survived, but did the squirrel?
just fine. Squirrel is just fine. And and I learned a lot of lessons in the last 2 weeks, well, last 4 weeks, in patience because of this, and how to audition for things and not show my cast. But it's I have lessons to still learn, which
Hmm.
is part of what, as a teacher and as an actor, I think I have been graced with the willingness to be teachable, even though I'm old. And I think that the best thing to be in life is to be teachable because it gives me the opportunity to keep stretching as an actor and as a human being. And I still study,
Hmm.
and as a teacher, I still have the opportunity to learn from other teachers. And so my students benefit, and God knows my work still benefits from
Right.
working with other teachers.
Right. That's awesome. And where do you teach in Los Angeles? Where can people find you if they want some coaching?
They can go to lauragardner.org or Acting with Laura. Those are my two websites. And I did a musical about 3 years ago that was actually filmed. It was an AFI musical that was done. It was runner up for a student Oscar. It was one of the last
Oh,
10
wow.
musicals, and I play a yenta at a place for trying this young girl trying to find a husband, and it was a wonderful. It's called Marriage Material, and
Oh,
it's a wonderful film. And I sang for that. That was the last big musical I did, and it did very, very well. And the director just shot a feature in Canada, and he's brilliant, brilliant writer director. And so when I'm in the car, I'm usually bursting into song. And I started with musicals, and I was a folk singer.
hmm.
And I Joni Mitchell, Judy Collins, and I know Frank and I. This is a mixed household. We don't listen to a lot of music in the house because I don't like loud music, and Frank does. So we keep the house sort of quietish,
Mm.
and when he's in his car, he listens to very loud music. In my car, I listen to moderate sounding Broadway.
Hmm.
And there's a musical called Witness Uganda, which was written by some guys who live down the street from us. One of the guys is on The Flight Attendant, Griffith Matthews, and his husband, Matthew. They wrote this wonderful musical. There are a couple guys who went to Carnegie Tech, and they went to Uganda, and what was
Wow.
going as sort of a travel, they were just going to travel there, ended up being, they did, wrote a musical, and they did a lot of service, and they traveled all over the world and came back,
Lovely.
and the music is just gorgeous. So if anyone's looking for something, and it's service, it's called Witness Uganda.
Witness
And
Uganda.
Witness Uganda. And I've got tons of music on my computer, but I tend to be very quiet because I had been teaching at Howard Fine for 19 years, and I was teaching so many classes that I was always talking and I was coaching a lot that
Hmm.
I crave quiet. Even though I love music, I crave quiet.
Hmm.
Now that I just finished teaching 2 classes a week and some coaching, that right now Frank and I have been reading tons of plays. I don't know if you mentioned for a playwrights
Hmm.
festival that one of our theater companies is doing, that I still need. I just, as I've gotten, it's not that I've gotten older, I just am somebody who really craves quiet.
Right.
And I find that I have to really, I loved classical music. There's still some classical I love, but I tend to really, we have, I don't know if you can hear it here, we have a lot of birds.
Uh-huh. That's nice.
And if the people who are moving next door, God willing, they won't be too noisy, will very backyard, because it's where we live is very, it's
Quiet.
in along with coyotes.
Yeah, I live in the quiet town too, in between Slack and Tahoe. It's very quiet where I am. You can see the
Oh,
mountains. I love the quiet too, and I think with introverts, they tend to draw their energy from peace and quiet, where an extrovert will draw their energy from loud and company. Because I know people think I'm an extrovert, but mask it. I actually draw my energy from when I'm alone and quiet. So
same
yeah,
way.
and sometimes it's hard to get that, you know, because
Yeah.
we lead such busy lives, and so I can relate in that empathic way. Well, that's great, and the the. I know Frank mentioned that you may have a play coming out in the summer.
Well, I don't know. I got an email from I got a text from somebody on Facebook. I don't want to. We'll see. It was
Yeah.
reaching out. What's your summer like? What's your availability? So that's called. Let's see. Maybe. Perhaps.
Hmm.
So I'm not holding my breath, but it's a possibility. That's very nice. And then there's a project I've been working on for a couple of years now. It's about Marilyn Monroe and her relationship with Eileen Heckart, who is an Oscar and Tony winning actress.
Hmm.
And she did Bus Stop, the movie Bus Stop with Marilyn Monroe. Then they became friendly. And her son is an actor, writer, professor, director, Luke Yankee. And he met me in Alaska, and he has written a book about his mother, Eileen Heckart, and he said, I've been looking for someone to play my mother for years, and it's you. So he said, I've been wanting to write a play about her and my relationship with her and her relationship with Marilyn Monroe. And he wrote the play 2 years ago, right? Well, it was right before the pandemic. So
Hmm.
we started working on it way back then. And then we did a couple of readings, 2 or 3 readings in LA. And then we went to New York and did 2 readings in New York. And then the pandemic hit. So then we
Oh,
do readings of it on Zoom for Broadway Cares and the Actors Fund. And then we did another reading of it last year for a benefit again. And now it looks like we may do another reading. He's looking to get it produced on stage.
yes.
And it's been a wonderful experience for me because the role is Eileen Heckart was, I just really identify a great deal with her. She was very passionate, very dry, very a woman with a lot of demons. And she was very driven and her work was I'm very passionate about my work and very committed to my work as an
Yeah.
actor.
What a
And
wonderful experience, though.
oh, it's been great. And to be a part of the journey with her
Right.
son, who I love, he's a wonderful man. And
Yes.
the woman who's playing Marilyn is a Marilyn impersonator at Universal, and she's just terrific. And the guy who's playing my son he's a wonderful actor. So to have been on this journey for almost 3 years has been really great.
Oh, I really hope it comes to light. Out of all the charities there are in the world, which one would you choose to advocate for and why?
There's a few. I mean, right now it would be the World Kitchen. I mean, I think they're doing great things. But I give to if you were to look at the charities for taxes, there's I mean, I do World Charities, do Feed America. My heart goes for animals, so there's a lot of stuff for dogs and
Hmm.
cats. And the people we got Dolly from, there's 2 different uh, places, 2 rescues that we've helped. But I also have, I mean, I tithe a lot. I have a friend who has a daughter who is, I have a friend who's very ill, and so I'm going to give some money to her daughter who's so they can make sure she's going to be okay.
Oh,
And her daughter she has an Asperger's son and a daughter who's autistic and she's very tough. I get so
Oh,
I just think that because I'm in a position that um, I don't spend a lot of money
mm,
that I can give to causes. So Planned Parenthood, I mean, whenever I can give, I'll do whatever I can. So if I see something, a friend was unexpectedly, she had a child, and then she had some bizarre disease that, so I was able to donate something there. So
yeah,
if I can do something, I will do something. So there's not any one thing, but
right, many.
many. So I think that it's important that um, when I can, which feels like, I'm guilt-ridden Jew, I just feel that the fact that I have whatever I have is such a gift
Right,
that I feel that it's that thing about, put your finger in the jar and if you hold it, your hand is stuck, and if you let go, so I'm always going to be in a place that I feel that let me give what I can to help others.
oh, that's great. And so you go for the moment with it then. When you see something in someone in need, you help them, which is
I
close to your
do
heart. Yeah,
what
that's
I can.
great.
If I think that if I'm feeling tight, then I'm sure that for a while I may go, "Ooh, I think I better be careful." I mean, we were thinking about the stock market is doing really bad right
Oh,
now,
yes, it's crashed.
so I'm trying to be aware that, well, we need to take care of ourselves too,
Mm-hmm.
and what can I still do? Because the stock market will come back, and
It
I'm still
will.
not spending tons of money on myself.
Right.
So I mean, this is, I'm wearing, I like to get secondhand stuff because it's fun. I have, some of my, I mean, I don't shop very much. So, I
Right.
have nice stuff and I have some stuff. It's been the pandemic. I haven't been able to shop very much because of this. So I
Right.
just, I'm not a clothes horse. So,
Yeah. I buy
I don't
what
have
I need.
it done, because of this. So my hair is, my hair's a little, not exactly.
Actually, I like your hair. It's very cute.
Well, thank you
You
so
kind
much.
of, it kind of reminds me of Sandy off Grease Lightning. Grease, the
Oh,
film.
well, good. Good.
Olivia Newton-John. Yeah.
I'm not in high school, but okay.
I know, but it's cute. I like it. I used to wear my hair some up, some down, and I think it's such a cute style. You
Well,
know.
thank
Yeah.
you.
It gives it a bit of oomph. It's nice.
Yes, a little gluten.
Yes, a little glitter where we need it. Glitter, we like the glitter. So, I don't like to ask this question, but how do you feel about what transpired since COVID-19? What
How do
was
I
your
feel
what was your experience of it?
of the 3 years since it happened and just living in it?
Yes.
Um,
And you can be honest, which I know you will be.
I mean, on some levels, I'm very lucky because I did an enormous amount it was a very creative time for me.
Hmm.
I did an enormous amount of, of work. I really did. I took class with Jessica Hecht, who's an incredible actress and teacher, Austin Pendleton, Carol Rosenfeld, who's my friend and mentor, and Mark Nelson in New York. I took a week-long workshop with them. I did at least 4 or 5, 6, 7 Zoom plays, more than that. I taught at least 6 or 7 class. I mean, I did a radio play.
Oh
I
wow.
was incredibly artistically busy. I mean, I really was incredibly busy. And I would say that sometimes I felt very trapped in the house. Uh, we didn't have the dog for a part of it. Trying to remember, backtracking. I mean, my mother died shortly before it. That was
Oh,
a little hard. Um,
I'm
yeah,
sorry.
we had a tricky time because I'm trying hard to backtrack. I'm glad that my mother didn't have to experience that. But
Isolation.
yeah, that she wouldn't have been able to afford that. I mean, it was hard. I mean, I haven't seen my sisters because I was supposed to go. They're in Florida, and I was supposed to go last. Um, just stopped out. But so it was a little challenging with being trapped in the house. But because we have this wonderful backyard,
Yeah.
that we have a really beautiful backyard, that helped, and Zoom helped.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but it was a weird life, and the fact that we got through it is health wise. I mean, I stayed healthy. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't get COVID. Frank got COVID for just at Christmas time. I wasn't happy about some of the risks that we took. I mean, my stepson got married. We went to Florida for that. I could have done without that risk. Um, uh, it was a wonderful wedding, but that was really scary to me.
Right. Yeah.
So it was a
Well,
very bizarre.
at least they have the vaccinations now, which help.
Yeah, that helps, and we've done some traveling. I went to New. I mean, I shot a Law and Order SVU in October, so
Mm-hmm.
that was when things started to calm down a little bit.
Right.
And so it's been a very. I mean, the fact that I survived it. I had a lot of friends who, a lot of people I know passed, not
Oh.
not close friends, um, not really close friends. I'm very grateful, and not close family. Some other some close family did pass that I wasn't able to see. Um, so I'd say it's been a very surreal period of time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's I don't know if I were young how I would have survived it. And when I think about, I mean, I'm old now. I mean, I've
Right.
lived years that with I think there's a certain level of acceptance of this is what it is, this is what
Mm-hmm.
it is. But if I was a kid, if I
Yeah.
were in
It's
school,
difficult.
I can't imagine dating or if, what it would have life on the internet and seeing what's going on and
Mm.
having I really feel an enormous amount of compassion and stuff. I couldn't imagine my stepkids having to go through what they've gone through in life.
Yeah, especially the ones that were graduating. No party, and I know life. You have to put life as your priority. I know that, but I just felt for them all that were graduating, they got to miss out on that special moment. I felt sorry for them for that, but I know it was necessary. But I did feel for them. So. So regarding the self, was you doing many self tapes? Because I know I know an actress, and she's a single mom, and she said she was actually glad because she didn't have to rush out for an audition, that they can do it from home, and they were all helping each other with self tapes. I helped a friend a couple of times with their self tapes too, so I enjoyed doing that. And how did you find that experience? Did you do any?
I've done tons of self tapes. I mean, I
Yeah.
booked the Law and Order SVU with a self tape. I've booked a few other things with self tapes. I have some. Frank and I have. Um, we've had some good experiences and some not so good experiences.
Yeah.
I think that um, I've coached a lot of people on self tapes. It's not always a great way of working for anyone. It's good to probably. I think that Frank and I have been spoiled because we've had each other, and I don't think it's always ideal because we're not each other's best coaches all the time because we know each other too well.
Mm.
Because there's a dependence on each other and the computers, and I don't think that Peggy and Merrick. I think in some ways I don't think their situation is all that ideal either because when you know somebody and your partners, it's not always perfect
Right.
in terms of it's sometimes better to work with someone who is not
You're not
your
so
part.
close to. Yes, absolutely. Do you want me to leave this in? Because
Maybe not.
it's up to you because it's your interview. I mean,
Maybe not.
I think it's okay. I think it's, you're talking your truth, and
And
I've got nothing.
it is the truth, and Frank knows that. So
Yeah.
don't this little interchange you don't have to keep in, but you
No,
could keep
I'll
it.
edit this bit out.
Also, and there are, so we could go as though you could put the cut in here that we can start now. It's sometimes good to work with someone who knows you, but it's sometimes good to use the services like We Audition or a friend who you could set up your camera and your friend could be on your Zoom who could be
No.
talking through your camera because, or you could have a coach or a friend coaching you while you're taping because if there's any, it seems to me what I have found as a coach and for myself, if you're the type of actor who doesn't care if there's any kind of, if you're easygoing in your auditions, then it's fine. If you're the type of actor like I tend to be, I tend to not be able to separate my emotions as a person, as a woman, from my emotions as the character. And then, so if I start to get emotional about, oh, I'm taking up too much time, or I don't think that Frank is happy with what I'm doing, then I'm going to fuck up the audition.
Right.
It's not good. And it doesn't matter if Frank has those feelings or not. I have those feelings, and then it gets in the way of my audition.
Got you.
And I've done some great auditions with Frank. And the Law and Order SVU, the first audition I did with him, and then the second audition was a Zoom callback.
Right.
That is what happened. And Frank booked the last three jobs he booked that I coached him on. But
that's awesome.
But he is much more easygoing, I think, than I am about things. This has just always been the way I am. I'm very sensitive, and I've probably gotten more sensitive as I've gotten older because of whatever reasons, and with the pandemic and whatever, I don't know. But I understand that, and I'm appreciating that more right now, particularly because it's harder to book things now that there aren't as many roles. I've actually dropped more weight, so I'm probably in some ways more attractive than I may have been before. I've gone maybe into a different kind of character. I don't know. Whatever it is, I want to give myself every opportunity to be at my total best. And I think everyone should be that way.
Right.
And so anything that could in any way impact the audition in any kind of possible bad way should be get rid of it.
Absolutely. Is there any part that you played that you saw your own personality within it? Which one was that?
The most?
The most.
So many. Almost anything I do is my older sister came to see me do a role that I understudied Holland Taylor in off Broadway, and she said, "Oh, Laura, it was just you," And I thought, oh, isn't that nice that she thought that? Because to me, the best thing that anybody could say about me is that it was just me.
Right.
I don't know, because there's so many parts of me. I was doing something today. I was rehearsing this thing today, which is, it's these three women got together, a writer, Jamie Brandley, and Hearn Tobolowsky, Steve Tobolowsky's wife, who's a wonderful director, actress, writer, and another woman, Nina Salonen, who is a wonderful writer, actress, and they put together an idea to do Romeo and Juliet in a seniors facility.
Oh.
And Nina has done for the last 20 years King Lear as an older woman. And she's only like maybe 40 something now.
Oh,
She's
really?
doing it like as a 90-year-old woman as King Lear, and she's brilliant. But I'm playing her in this reading, and they've put it together so there's all these old people in the seniors, and I'm playing Nina because she's doing a play right now. So I get to play Nina, and Nina ends up actually playing Juliet before she takes the vial of the fake poisonous.
Yeah.
And there's this beautiful speech at the end. Well, first to be able to say Juliet's words before she takes the vial. And then there's this beautiful speech at the end of it talking about how life is about being able to go through pain and to live. And I just found myself, I went, oh no, I'm starting to cry, I mean, I was
Oh.
moved by the writing. And I thought, it's that thing again about when the writing was so beautiful, and I just, and then having just said Juliet's beautiful words, I think that when I allow myself to be carried by a writer, I did Come Back Little Sheba 40 years ago. Well, Shirley Booth did. When I allow myself to be moved by a writer and by a character, any role is one that I feel really close to. And I feel gifted to be able to have had the opportunity. And I feel that there are many roles that I've only, I was reading August Osage County, and that's a role that that was sort of put under my nose as maybe something could happen. And I read it and I thought, oh man, could I do this role? And could I memorize all these lines? Oh my
I know.
God.
That must be difficult.
Well, if I had the time to start working on it now, oh man, would I love to do that role. Because if you make the sense of something, if something makes sense, if I have the time to do something and live in it, when the student did this monologue from Boys in the Band, and you saw him light up talking about it, you saw the pictures, when an actor really connects to the material, so when a musician is playing those notes and it connects, you've seen Kim do it, you've seen Merrick do it, when an actor really allows themselves to be present in that way, then there's only the magic of that moment. And I think that's what that artists long for, that moment of truth.
That's beautifully said. Well, is there anything that no one has asked you in an interview that you would have liked them to ask you?
I'm not sure. I've said a lot today that felt so much like from my core. You ask good questions, and I just feel, I think the truth is of such, if I could be my word, and the importance of kindness, which is so easily slips through our fingers, doesn't it? It slips through our fingers. It's like the leash in the dog. This is how we should be in life, and then we're a certain way in our closest relationships and with our loved ones, and we forget that the importance of how we want to be in the world is really important, and how we are with each individual. Who we are to our husbands, to our children, to the checker in line, and to our students. And so, when I think about how certain teachers treated me and the impatience that I have felt or others have felt towards me, that the world is in a place right now that it seems to me that the greatest thing that we can give each other right now is to remember to take a breath, and to try to be our best, and to give each other the benefit of a doubt, and to stay safe. and to come from a place of that that space. There's a space of, and I keep coming back to that moment, that breath of a choice. I have a choice to do something that is going to make things possible or not. And I think that's what, chat box with Sam, that possibility of bringing something new and interesting. And when you say, is there something no one has ever asked you before? That gives the artist an opportunity to go, no one's ever asked me if I really care. No one's ever asked me what's important to me. That would be someone you ran into on the street, and if you said, what do you really care about?
Right.
That to feel important enough that
someone's listening.
Yeah, that we're really listening. And I think as artists that, with what is a play, what is a movie, what is a film, that if these films, the things that are being written now, can they give us in the world an opportunity to feel as though someone is listening, that we hear, and that we can maybe make a difference somehow.
Well, thank you very much for listening. Is there any last words you'd like to say to the viewers before we leave?
I've said enough.
I just put you on there. I've said enough. That was awesome. Thank you for making me laugh. Well, thank you so much. Thank you very much. Good night.